Hello and welcome to Hexed Encountered. I'm Joe. In this video, we'll be taking a first look at the game Storm of Steel, Ju-87 Stuka, Eastern Front. This is designed by Joe Fernandez and is from Compass Games. Now, I just recently did some stuff on another game that was designed by Joe Fernandez. That one published by DVG, that was Third Option. This one is more of your traditional war game, although it is a solitaire game. And it is in the narrative vein more than, your hex and counter type strategy type of game. So let's take a look at the back here. Now you can see that it is rated high for suitability for solitaire. As I mentioned, it is a solitaire game. Now, unlike some of the games by, let's say, someone like Gregory Smith, or Steve Dixon, the more solo kind of narrative games that basically put you in command of a single aircraft or a tank or a submarine, etc. This one you are in charge of a staffel of Stukas. So you will have multiple aircraft that you will be controlling, and you will be, completing missions on the Eastern Front. So all the way from Barbarossa through the attack on Moscow to Case Blue, Stalingrad, and ending, I believe, with Operation Citadel, which was the fighting around Kursk, if you're not familiar with that. So this is a medium complexity game. One turn takes 20 minutes, or covers 20 minutes in terms of scale. The map is one zone is 60 kilometers. Unit scale is one unit is a single aircraft. Number of players is one. High suitability for solitaire, of course. Average time to play from 30 minutes to 6 hours, recommended 14 and up. We do have a mounted air operations map, or MAT rather, not map. 2 counter sheets of 9/16 inch counters, 16 aircraft cards, 24 event cards, 1 double-sided player aid card, also a single-sided player aid card, a how-to-play card, a pad of mission log sheets, a rules booklet, and a single 10-sided die and 3 6-sided dice. So let's open this up and see what's inside the box. Okay, so let's open it up. All right, so here are our cards, and we'll put this aside and look at that in a moment. Our dice, as advertised, 3d6, 1d10, baggies. And then we have a plastic bag here with the rule book in it. And a little piece of errata, which says counter sheet 2 is designed to be a half sheet. Our manufacturing partner has provided a full sheet in every game. The counters on both halves are identical, so one set can be set aside as spares. Okay, so you get some extra counters. So here is the rule book. And we'll take a look at this first. So, as you can see here, 8 sections, typical case format, right? So, you've got what the game is, the introduction to gameplay, some notes on terminology and abbreviations, etc., your player objectives, flying missions, components, career stuff over here, scoring, the air operations map. Here's or mat. I keep calling it a map. It's a mat. There is no map. Basically, you have mission zones here, and each one is 60 kilometers. So depending on how far out you go, pretty much, that's how this works. It's a little bit abstracted, of course. Here's the aircraft cards. You can see there are various things on the card. The Stuka was a 2-person aircraft, so you have a pilot and a gunner. They can both gain stress. You have pilot crew stress and gunner crew stress. You have various systems that can be damaged. You have experience for both the pilot and the gunner. Then you have your armaments here as well. So everything is basically covered on a card. The cards go on the mat in these slots, and you basically put counters on there to mark what's going on with the status. So somewhat similar to, in some ways, to the Leader series, where you put things on the cards to kind of track stress of the pilots and so forth. a similar concept, but in practice, I'm sure it's a little bit different. And we have our player aids here. There are cards, event cards. There are 24 event cards in the game. Then we have things about setup, the flight leader, formations, staffel, and keta. So a keta is like a subdivision of a staffel. A staffel is 9 to 12 aircraft, and a keta, which is German for chain, is 3 aircraft. Ordnance, loadouts, operations, and then your different campaigns. Basically, you can play the Grand Campaign, which would take you from June, July of 41, the start of Barbarossa, all the way through the end of Citadel, which took place in the summer of 43. So you have them here: Barbarossa, Case Blue, Citadel. You'll have missions. There are some maritime missions where you can try to attack. For example, the Soviet battleship Marat was sunk by Luftwaffe ace Hans Rudel, who was a Stuka ace. He was probably the most famous Stuka pilot in the Luftwaffe. Then you got your how to play, crew and aircraft management chart. So you have this chart as well. Combat missions, anti-aircraft, bombing, Rudel gamble. That was something that Rudel did, where he would go further, he would go lower into his dive, take his dive closer to the ground before pulling out, just because he was very good at piloting the Stuka. Return to base, and post-mission stuff here, as well as career and promotion. So you can start green, go to veteran, ace, elite, and then hero. And then you have their designer notes here. And at the very back, we have an example of play covering a few pages here. So we can go through that and look at that as, kind of an example, hence the title, example of play, and so on and so forth. And then we have a little kind of guide here to the counter manifest, or the counter sheets rather. The counter sheets are in shrink wrap. There are 2, as I mentioned. So let me open those up. Okay, so here's counter sheet 1. And as you can see, they're basically markers. So you have various markers for things like scoring and DRMs, and then your various pilot and gunner experience markers, basically. Then you have some real pilots here that you can play with, and you have your keta and staffel markers, escorts, enemy fighters, various units you can serve with, etc., which zone, and so on, and then damage, of course, and crew stress. Over here you have a whole lot more, and again, really these are identical. You could see Hagen here and Hagen here. So basically you're looking at double, so we really only need half of these. So if we cover up this half, this is basically what you've got. And these are all real life Stuka crew, I believe, if I remember correctly. And I'm sure, or I hope, Rudel is in here somewhere. There he is. There he is right there. Hans Ulrich Rudel, the most famous Stuka pilot of all time. So those are our counters. We do have a mission log as well. Pretty straightforward stuff here. You'll put your pilot, and obviously you have multiple aircraft. So unlike, say, something like Stuka Leader, which I have and I've done videos on, that's, the Leader series from Dan Versen Games. This is more squadron based. So a little bit different. So, but you can track all your pilots and gunners. Here's one of the player aid cards with the how to play on it on one side. This is your single-sided one. And then our next one has the tables, or actually, that's just a how to play card. That's not a player aid card. I'm sorry. Here's our 2-sided player aid card, which has all your charts for rolling. And you can see you have your different time periods running from June of 41 out through August of 43. And then this is maritime. So in the June to October of 41 period, you would be attacking, maybe shipping in the Black Sea or the Baltic or something like that. different zones, and then your DRM for anti-aircraft fire, etc. So here's your attack accuracy table, ordnance availability. So certain ordnance, for targets. Visibility, in terms of, I remember seeing that this is basically like not specifically just weather, but things like smoke and obviously there's ground fighting. The Stuka was a ground attack aircraft, so there's fighting going on. There could be smoke, fire, debris, explosions, etc. that might obscure your target. So that's what this is: target visibility, not just weather. Your operation and campaign scoring, your anti-aircraft. On the other side, we have fighter intercepts, Luftwaffe escort. So obviously the Red Air Force will attempt to shoot your aircraft down. Your buddies in the fighter wing of the Luftwaffe will be available to help out. Then you have charts for approaching enemy aircraft and attacking, whether it's above, below, front, starboard, port, or rear, etc. And then, die rolls for that as well. Then we have a second sheet, stay, here, if I can get it out of the box. And that covers, this is just single-sided, so this one covers your aircraft damage, as well as crew stress, bailing out, successful bailing out over enemy territory, landing, forced landing survival, crew individual survival, destroyed aircraft replacement, crew recovery, and aircraft repair times. So very thorough, as you might expect. So now I'm going to get the mat out, and I called it a mat correctly this time. I'm going to get the mat out, and we'll take a quick look at that, and then we'll be done. Okay, so I don't really have a great shot that would show the entire mat all at once, but you can get a basic look at what this is. Some of the charts that we looked at on the player aids are actually duplicated on here. So first, like here we can see, and this is a little bit, it's not laying completely flat, but it's pretty good actually coming right out of the box as it did. Here's our mission zone track. We have our event cards up here, discarded event cards, damaged and destroyed aircraft holding area. Here's your flying circle. We have hospital here for wounded pilots and gunners. End of mission reminder here. Damaged aircraft repair and replace. Available crew holding area. I'll move up in a moment. Then you have your aircraft areas. So let me just slide this a little bit. So, well, first we'll start over here on the end. So here is the bottom of the board. Here's our aircraft crew holding area and replacement crew. Then we have our aircraft down here. So these are our 10 aircraft, starting over here with our flight leader. So you have 10 slots, and you'll have varying amounts of aircraft per mission. But your flight leader will go here, and then you can track all your DRMs and your attack scores and everything on here as the missions progress. And as I mentioned earlier, and I didn't show the cards, but here is a card, right? So here is our card. And so you would just place the card down, and then you would put markers on there indicating any kind of effect on, so your pilot experience here, your gunner experience here, your ordnance, and then any kind of damage that takes place, or crew stress, etc. So speaking of cards, real quick, we've got a bunch of aircraft cards for the Ju-87D, and then you have the Ju-87G, which was a later war model designed specifically to be a tank killer. So you have some of those as well. And then you have your event cards. So these are all event cards. And so you'll flip these over during the game, and it'll have some kind of effect on, good, bad, indifferent perhaps, but there will be events. So that's the card deck. And then at the top of this area of the left side of the board, you can see, as I mentioned, some of the charts that are on the player aid card, like your aircraft damage table, the bailout, your fighter intercept, bombing attack accuracy, the ordnance availability, your target visibility, and you can actually put counters on here to indicate if you're going to have no die roll modifier or take a +1 or a +2. Rolling low in this game is better than rolling high. That's why your negative DRMs are going to be positives. You have an anti-aircraft table here, your ordnance, etc. So all in all, I'm going to say that I am really looking forward to playing this. And that's why I did the first look video right now as opposed to later on. I wanted to slide this in and sneak it in because I'd like to slot this in sometime probably early April, perhaps first week of April or something like that. We will be returning to the other things that I have going on here. Later this week, there will be more of the hunters. There will be some naval stuff as well. I haven't quite decided which one I'm going to do first, but that is definitely on the table. But that will do it for now. So this is a first look at the game Storm of Steel, designed by Joe Fernandez and published by Compass Games. Just got it the other day, and I'm looking forward to digging in. Hope you got something out of the video. Please consider liking, sharing, and or subscribing if you did. That is always greatly appreciated. But for now, that's going to do it. My name is Joe. This has been the Hexed Encounter channel, and until next time, as always, happy gaming.